Hello everyone, welcome to the part one webinar. Today we will be talking about solar. My name is Carly Fletcher, and we've got
My name is Jeremy Vonderhaar. I'm part of the solar team over here, kind of handling the sizing out and design level section of solar.
And I'm Kyle Smith, and I'll be presenting today.
So this is how you work the webinar. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to type it in the questions, and we will try to help you the best we can.
So there on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a little caret pop down that says questions, and feel free to ask questions during the webinar. If it's a good time to answer those, or if it's a good segue, we'll take care of those in the middle. But if we miss them or we need to wait till the end, we'll just do those towards the end of the session.
So here's today's agenda. We will be talking about a lot of different things with solar. We're going to go over the basic Solar 101 to get everyone up to speed. And then we want to talk about why Enertech chose to get into solar, and then how you compare solar and geothermal systems together to really open a new door, and then why you guys should sell solar, and then any questions that you guys have. So like we said earlier, my name is Carly Fletcher. I am with the marketing and sales department with the solar team.
My name is Jeremy Vonderhaar, like I mentioned earlier, part of the solar team over here, sizing out and designing some of the different arrays we've been working on.
Yeah, and I'm Kyle Smith. So, and we are leading the solar team for Enertech, and doing the best we can to learn as much as we can every day, and to share what we know with you. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is solar energy? Well, it's pretty simple. It's electricity, and that's going to be a big part of our conversations moving forward in the future as we make an attempt to phase out natural gas and propane. But it's basically the production of electricity that can be done. So what is it actually? So photovoltaic energy is basically converting of protons, i.e. light, electricity, and during this process, electrons are freed up by the solar energy and travel along the little highways, if you can see my mouse down here, and it's basically like a city grid, and that turns into DC power that travels to the connection points inside of the system, or inside of the panel itself. So we're basically just making DC power straight from the solar panels themselves. All right, so next is why solar? Why did we choose solar? Or why do we feel like it's so important? And what do we think the HVAC industry looks like in the next 5-10 years? Have you guys thought about your business plan on diversifying? What do you think will be coming around the corner for products? How can we offer the best service to our consumers to help them in their process of reducing their utility bills? And our thought process is once we get into this further, is that there's really 4 steps. There's insulation, which is basically energy saving, and also reducing any bleeding points in a home or facility. Then there's your HVAC system and water heating, which is step number 2. Of course, we like geothermal out of that, but electricity is the best way to go. And then the next step would be the energy production side, which would be solar energy. And lastly, the 4th step is batteries. So we'll get into those in detail, but in our vision is that this will be all a very, very good mix together for the next, starting with 5 years and then going into 10 years to see how our products will be able to be designed around what the technologies around us are, including solar and even other technologies as well. So why did we choose to get into solar originally? we feel that this is the best avenue that we could diversify. It would really help in our R&D department and help us with products in the future. Of course, I'm not going to give away any of our secrets, but we really feel that there is some products around the corner mixing the two technologies that can help us ultimately, from what we see all utilities, basically be able to come up with off-grid solutions. And that's probably in that 10-year range, but I think that's really what our goals are someday. Then, so for you though, and for our customers, that when I say our customers, I mean your customers, but we're helping them in that next point of sale process, because we sell somebody a geothermal system. It's a good install. Everything goes well with it. The system should last 20, 30 years. And well, what else are we going to sell them in that time frame? Filters? Well, now we can sell them the next phase of energy production and get them to basically a net zero possibility. It's also really good lead development. As you guys know, you can't see geothermal. That's pretty much the majority of our problem in this industry, is nobody can go down the road and look to your right or your left and see geothermal. But you sure can with solar array. And what we're hoping though is that you and we will be able to pull in more opportunities from somebody acting like, being interested in solar, but we may have to take a step back and take a look at those bleeding points before we bring them in an array. And lastly is logistics. Logistics meaning that we love shipping our own products. We'd prefer to ship our own products all day long if we could, but this will, and basically when I say that is that we'd prefer to ship them on our own trucks. And we have control, we don't have any freight damage, and this will help us move more trucks and getting more deliveries on the road from us. So this slide is really showing what the uptick in solar is in the last few years, and how the technology's taken basically a sprint forward in the module or panel technology. And a few notes here towards the bottom especially is that of the electric capacity from the last 3 years has actually been solar at 30%, while overall solar power accounts for 2% of all the electric nationally. So what we're basically saying is it's coming. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and jump in now to the technology versus waiting till everybody else is in it or till it's more mainstream. So how solar pairs with geothermal? Well, our components are pretty simple. Majority of folks know on here that we have a geothermal unit, we have pumps that associate to that, and a loop field. It's pretty simple overall, our components. But with solar, we also add in the modules, being the panels, inverters, and racking that make up part of that system. We've considered what we can do to mix those components together to consolidate them. But just that's basically what it is, but they're two separate systems. So then our goals are to install geothermal first, or what you could do, and you guys have it readily accessible to you, is air source heat pumps. Basically what we're saying is go electric. Have your customers go electric, and if they want a natural gas or propane backup, great. But do everything you can to get somebody to heat pump in some fashion, and that is priming them up for a net zero possibility down the road, or near it anyways. But net zero living is what we refer to as basically a journey that you can sell to your consumers, and you're going to be knocking on their door, or you're going to be telling them, like, look, this is phase one. This geothermal system that I'm selling you is going to reduce your bills drastically, which is AKA your energy load. And then your solar array that you're going to present to them next, you tell them next we'll add in the solar array. And the last step will be the batteries, so that we're able to feed the geothermal system off the batteries and hopefully not need the grid a lot during the night, so that we can store up some of our energy we made in the daytime. And I kind of already touched on $0 utility bills, but whatever the utility minimum is that you're after, for example, mine at my house is I think $15 monthly, and that's what we're shooting for. And then incentives, there's the federal tax credit, and note this one, that we thought that it was it was just like geothermal, that it was 10% commercial tax credit. It's not. It's 30% residential and commercial federal tax credit. And then in addition, many states have incentives to help bring down their footprint or their load. And we're in Illinois, so we're really familiar with that one. But their goals are by 2025 to be 20% renewable energy, I think, or maybe the other way around. It may be 2020, 25%. But states have goals to reduce their carbon footprint. So if it's not in your state now, you can bet that it's coming in the next couple of years. So we've done some calculating on taking our geothermal information that we have and looked at the average home consumption of energy. So this is both any sort of heating energy, being gas, electric, oil, whatever it may be. And then you have air conditioning, which is a surprisingly low number on this graph. You have appliances that are big hogs as well, and hot water heating is fairly large as well too. So this is something that we really pay close attention to. And our thought process is, if these are our energy hogs in the average house, excluding a pool or a hot tub or something, but if these are our hogs in the house, what can we do to reduce these before we start thinking about a solar array? Ultimately, the return on investment for the consumer will be much quicker with a smaller array, clearly, and have a higher percentage of load coverage as we start to take care of those energy hogs in a house. So it's very interesting, because geothermal, or your heating and cooling and your hot water production, take up a huge chunk of that. And the rest, in our opinion, are really easy change outs, being a new washer and dryer or refrigerator, stuff that's can be done gradually over time. So I basically went over this last slide and got excited here, but on this slide, we're basically talking about insulation. That's number one. So a tight insulated home, and making sure that we fill in all the gaps in the house, whether it be retrofits, new construction, whatever it may be, and that's nothing new to you. But then we also go to geothermal, and the proper insulation equals a smaller heating and cooling system load, right? Well, that's great. If we follow the steps, we're preparing ourselves for the solar array as well, and eliminating that gas and propane. Why I say that is because not only will you save on additional utility bills and you'll get combustion out of the house, but also because a consumer cannot make your own natural gas or propane on site, but you can make electricity. And if you can get all your items off of gas and onto electric, you're self-sustaining, basically. And then also overall is, again, reducing that energy usage. So with geothermal, we expect a 30 to 70% savings in heating and cooling costs or more, and then 25 to 40% savings in hot water costs, depending on the household. Solar then is the point where we cross over to, for insulation and geothermal, we were basically saving energy. Now with solar, we're producing that energy. So with that, it's kind of a mouthful, but if you take the necessary first two steps, you're creating the opportunity to have a higher percent of load coverage per square foot of solar panel. So you can have a higher load coverage with less panels, in other words. And this will reduce your utility bills, and there's lots of state and federal incentives that we discussed earlier. And step is batteries. We don't really, we're doing the best we can to understand batteries and figure out how to design with them, who should use one and who shouldn't, where they are in technology, where they are in production, pricing, making it make sense. But for you, what we really see a huge benefit for is the replacement of generator sales. So this will be the evolution of where you'll be able to take your next diversification opportunity. And even if somebody doesn't have a solar array, for example, on peak usage times, we'll get into that shortly. But batteries are a huge opportunity, especially as they improve the grid to become when outages are at less times, I guess I should say, when there's less outages, that's when the batteries really make the most sense, because if it's only for a couple hours, that battery can hold that household. So batteries, here's a little bit of a diagram of what, how it would be incorporated into a house. This is actually one of the inverter companies that we sell as graphic, and this is from Solar Edge, and they make a product that basically keeps everything DC power as long as possible to go into that battery from LG Chem is what we actually sell, and then it goes to AC in the house there for the rest of the items, and ultimately feeding back onto the grid. What we expect, though, and what we've read, and I'll be honest, we're kind of a little still ignorant on batteries and understanding them fully, but the market growth is expected to double 6 times by 2030, which is a pretty substantial amount of opportunity for all of us. So why we're bringing solar to you, though? Why are we dabbling in it? Why are we getting into it and fully getting into solar sales as a major solar distributor? Why you should jump into it as well. You've already got the customer base. You've already got lots of customers that are ready to go for solar, i.e. they've done all their preparation to save energy, and this is your competition to the gas industry. Again, all electric. Electric is our key. And then we want to replace generator sales with those batteries as well, and then help create a consumer plan for them in the future. So if we're talking to them about a new house and we're talking about their heating and cooling system, we will always tell them to make sure they insulate well. Then we add in that geothermal system, and now you tell them, and we're going to save as much money as we can now, and then we'll be back soon to discuss the solar array, unless they want to do solar on new construction, which easily can be done too. So it just depends on how they want to look at it. And then solar also increases the home value for that customer as well as geothermal. And then you're also able to maintain that relationship that you've been maintaining from those customers that you already have in existence there with geothermal or an air source heat pump installation. Of course, if somebody has gas, that doesn't stop them from putting in solar or anything, but it does make more financial sense if they had more items on electric. Then higher HVAC percentages with higher revenues. Basically, what we're saying is if you have a $40,000 geothermal job and you add a $30,000 solar array job to it, you've now taken your revenue opportunity up to a $70,000 job, while the homeowner's tickled that they're not going to have a utility bill. So it is in the numbers, and it is how you explain it, but it's a very good opportunity for excellent ROI. So on your first jobs, we want to get you guys started, and basically this is the whole point of today and the training on the 8th is it's time to get moving with one job. This year, I think almost everybody can say that it's been a nuts year. Thankfully, sales are great in geothermal, but we want to aim for the shoulder seasons if we can, or the winter. And even if you have a day and a half available to do an installation, I think we should get started now. And so looking for lead generation, look at your existing geothermal customer base as a first starting point. Those are who are low-hanging fruit. Go to your number one lead, or who is your best loyal customer, or a family member, or a friend, and start with them. And we'll help you with the labor hours that we think you'll need. We'll help you with the design, even the sales side of it, on what we think for return on investment will be. And then go for practicing. Go for your shop. Go to your house. Of course, there's no better way to sell something whenever somebody asks you what you have on your house, and so that you can show them your savings as well. But getting a little bit of practice will go a long way. And we predict, I mean, I would say you're after 2 jobs, basically, you're going to be, training wheels will be off, and you'll be rocking and rolling. We've done some jobs here ourselves, and we are kind of past that point and have gotten pretty efficient. So we can really help out on what to expect for your first couple of jobs as well, and what to expect for labor. Basically, what we say though, if it's a rectangle, rooftop rectangle job, it ultimately should take about a day, but for your first one, maybe a day and a half. Ground mount, they do take longer, and depending on how you install it, it could take 2 days, if not a little bit more. But we think that once you really get up and rolling with ground mounts, they shouldn't take maybe a day and a half. So what about some labor? How about some free help? That's always good, right? Except that sometimes that's the most expensive part. No, I'm kidding. We'll always come out and help you with your jobs. So to get started, if you guys don't feel comfortable with your jobs, we'll be able to come out there and help you do the installation, and we'll help you design everything, and we'll get you going. So we will be there to help you to get you comfortable. So give us a call, 618-664-9010, to talk to Carly, Jeremy, or myself. All right, so as far as a customer sales process, what do you say? How do you bring it up? What and when to offer solar, explaining expectations, and a proposal. So those are really the key steps, and it's really a pretty simple technology, because you're making power from the solar array, you're converting it from DC and to AC, and then you're either using it or you're putting it back on the grid to be used later. What we found out of the solar industry is that they don't really have very good marketing collateral. They just everybody's kind of out on their own. So we're producing our own, and we'll be launching that at our training event on the 8th. But as far as designing a system, just to help you out a little bit, number one is always get 12 months of utility bills, both gas/LP and electric. And don't get too excited on the solar side until you're able to help that consumer evaluate their bleeding points. We don't want to overshoot their size and basically hurt their ROI if we're going to oversize the system. So what you can do most likely is help install a geothermal system first that could possibly reduce their solar array in half. And then determine the size of their system. That will come from those 12 months of utility bills, as well as the bleeding points. And at that point, it'll help you and us come up with the proper design size of the system. We'll talk about type, meaning are we talking rooftop, ground mount? Aesthetics would be basically, are we going to do a 60 cell or a 72 cell? If it's a 60 cell, are we going to do black on black, which the BOB looks pretty good. It's very camouflaged into the roof, but it does add a little bit more of a price tag. And then lastly is utility interconnection, meaning what kind of net metering programs do they have, or quote net zero or net metering conversations do they have, or opportunities, and what do we need to do to design around the utility to come up with the best design plan for that consumer. And it's really all pretty simple. So as I mentioned earlier, we're working on marketing collateral. We're working on cheat sheets for you on sales, steps, design a system. But feel free, just send us, if you can get the first 12 months bills, just send them to us and we'll take over from there. We're just going to ask you a few questions back, but that'll at least get the conversation started, and we can take it slow, and as you can get back to us. But again, let's start with your jobs first. And then so on the 8th, live in Greenville training, which will be an all-day event, we're going to do hands-on trainings. We're going to do breakouts. We'll have solar marketing collateral there, and we'll have everything covered for you there by the time you leave, ready to hit the streets, ready to sell. So please make sure to attend and let us know so we can sign you up and have an RSVP for you. So just jumping on, a lot of people have asked us, well, what are you guys selling for brands? Well, we sell Mission Solar, we sell Axitech, we sell JA Solar, and Silfab. And honestly, we have oodles of more brands available to us, but we are trying to simplify the best that we can. And some of our strategy on panels goes by price and what the consumer wants. As you guys know, sometimes you'll want a consumer who is Mr. And Mrs. American made. I've got to have an American made. I'm supporting America. I'll pay more for that. That's going to be Mission Solar. Then JA Solar is actually a Chinese product that has high quality, very good performance, but is the cheapest. And then Silfab and Axitech fall right in the middle, with Axitech being a German-made product, still very good, high quality. And then Silfab is actually made in the Toronto area, and they make some high wattage output products that are available to us now in the 370 size range and a 72 cell. So we're using a lot of those depending on the job. Inverters. String inverter wise, we're trying to stay with string inverters on ground mounts, and then micro inverters on the roof, being AP systems. And then Solar Edge is another opportunity that you can do. It's a string inverter with optimizers, and those can be done on the roof as well, or they can be done on the ground. So we have some options, and we can evaluate those for each job. And then lastly is racking. Racking DPW is a product that we use, and they provide us with our majority of our racking, everything but the black on black style, essentially. Iron Ridge has a lot of nice products available, but DPW gives us the best bang for the buck on what they have to offer. So these are some terminology, some terms that we're going to be covering on the 8th, but I'll quickly go through them now. However, we're going to take a very deep dive into each one of these on the 8th in Greenville. And that's where we'll cover arrays. And an array is a grouping of modules, essentially, slash panels, that will go on the ground or on the roof, wherever they may go, but it's a grouping of panels. An interconnection agreement, basically what we have to do to connect to the grid from the utility, co-op or utility, whatever it may be. The inverter, switching from DC to AC, and talking about that efficiency loss, and as well in products. And then the microinverter, which is still an inverter, but it's just smaller, and it goes up on top of the roof. Usually it's for the quicker installations. Gets you off the roof faster, which is always good as well. Then the module slash panel. A module is a 60 cell or 72 cell that actually absorbs the sun's energy itself, and that's what we see as solar panels. Net metering, that is the basically the turning of, we make two, let's say that we make 2 units of energy in the daytime, and in the nighttime, and we use one of those units of energy during the day, and then we have one left over at night, and then we use that second unit of energy at night. By the time the next morning comes, we're back to 0. So that's a quick definition of what net metering can be, or net zero, in other words. But we'll get more into depth in that. And then PV, the panel, the solar cell, actually inside of the panel themselves, and then the solar renewable energy credits that are available in multiple states, as well as statewide programs. All right, well, that will slow us down for today, because we don't want to take up your whole day, and give us enough for next week, next Wednesday at 9:30, I believe. And we'll be sending out another email notification with a link to sign up for the next 2 webinars, and that will take us into, so I believe the next 2 Wednesdays, and the 3rd Wednesday being August 8th, will send us into the live training here in Greenville. So on questions, there's that little bar over on your menu screen, and then we can take a look at what you guys have, if there's anything we can help with.
So we've actually got a question, Kyle. Do you recommend an infrared camera to inspect bleeding points on a home?
Well, yeah, for the insulation values, I mean, either in a blower door test, I think that would be, yeah, I mean, I think that's ultimately your first step, or doing a load calc on a house to be able to figure out the proper size of the heating cooling system. Because as we do change outs, people call in and say, I have an old Tetco system that was installed in '78. Well, they didn't have any computer programs to be able to do a load calculation. So we evaluate that, and most likely we can reduce the size of their heating, their system, with today's modern technology. So my point is yes, I think that's a great plan. So here's another, can this system be installed with 3-phase equipment? Heck yeah. The bigger the system you go, the better the ROI. So we've designed and sold several systems in larger sizes, and 3-phase is easy one to do. We just have to evaluate what exactly their voltage is, and that's just part of the questions that we'll ask as well. We'll just give it a few more seconds here, and see if you guys want to type out any more, and then we'll call it a day. On logistics, it's not a question, but it's just something I was thinking about. We can, like I said, we can ship in our own box trucks, but what we're finding though is that we're going to be purchasing another truck set up, and actually trading one in and getting a flatbed, and that will have a canvas tarp on it, as well as a piggyback on the back, so that we can drop everything off the truck from the side and drop it to where your job site is, right there. So if you're thinking about rooftops, you may think about borrowing or renting a telehandler, maybe. We've used a man lift a few times, where we threw 5 to 6 modules in the lift and put them up there that way with that. But the faster you can get your modules right next to where you're working, the faster you'll be in and out of the job. Another question that we've had in the past is is the off-grid options, and I do want to kind of cover that pretty in detail on the 8th. And those are readily available now, and they were a little bit more intimidating than what they actually are. And those are something that we can easily offer right away, but they come with a price tag because it's really not mainstream yet. And in that regard, that's a company that's actually called Outback Solar, and they make inverters and the controls needed.
Got another question, Kyle. Should installers plan on having electricians on staff to meet code requirements?
It just depends on where you're working. Usually you have somebody, an electrician that you probably have worked with in the past. You can do all the wiring, you can do all the hookups, but if you have a stickler for a code where you're working or a city where you're working in, you may consider, I would really probably recommend, if you don't have one on staff, or a license rather, then I would just consider working with a close partner to have them basically come connect the dots and finish it with theirs. We're reading the next question here. So batteries timeline, they are readily available now, and we are actually been designing them into systems where they are in, let's call it, non-solar friendly co-ops, and that is a huge conversation for the future. That what we project, we foresee that co-ops basically and utilities are going to start increasing their rates, their general, hookup rates, monthly charges, and what that's going to do though is jump those battery sales forward. So they are available now, but it's basically Gen 1 of all the products. So we're trying to hold off as long as we can before we really start full steam ahead into those, but we are designing those in. I'm just reading the next question here.
So I think that's about it that we have question-wise right now. If you guys have any last-minute questions, be sure to get them in. Or if you think of any after the webinar ends, feel free to email us at Enertech. We'll be happy to answer any of those. I'll put my email address in the chat if you want to send any my way.
Yeah, and so the next step for us is we're going to send the recording back to you and anybody who couldn't attend. And then so next week, the 25th, I can't believe it's 25th already, but 9:30 on the 25th, and then part 3 at 10 o'clock on August 1st. I couldn't see my screen there. And so August 1st at 10 o'clock, and then that live training, which will be very beneficial to everybody on the 8th, and that'll start at 8 o'clock and we'll end before 5 on that day. But that'll be full speed ahead on the training. We'll get hands-on. We'll do live installs, and if you've ever hooked up a heating and cooling system, you can handle this. So it's very easy and nothing to be intimidated with. We were at first, and now we look back and say, oh my, that was too easy. We can get moving on these right away. So anyway, thank you all for attending, and we will talk to you next week, same time, same place, and have a good rest of your day, rest of your week. There's my email address, phone number, and Inside Sales is ready to go to help you as well. So Inside Sales at enertechgeo.com, and then there's my email address, and you'll see contact information coming in the email later today. Thank you.